Well, hello there, traveler. How would you like to build some amazing floating shelves? Believe me when I say they are insanely easy to build. Seriously, I should have built these a lot sooner. My name is Tom Tobar, and welcome to Level Up Crafting. When I say these shelves were easy to build, I mean it. I built 6 of these shelves at 3 feet each in about half a day, and that includes waiting for the stain to dry. In the past, I used 2 different options that really weren't bad at all. They just didn't have the look and the functionality of the things that I really wanted to have in my backdrops. You'll be able to find all the previous options that I've used in the description below, just in case one of these options is a better fit for you. The first option was a 17-inch floating shelf by however you say this. I'm not actually sure you're actually supposed to say it. I don't know. I purchased this pack of 4 shelves because they were a total of $24.99 and they had the look that I was kind of going for. The biggest issue with these shelves is the size and the quality of the product. 17 inches is not a lot of space. I'm still using these shelves for several of my D&D homebrew campaigns I do each week, but for the project behind me, they would have been just too small for my needs. The other option that I used was a Star Under 6-pack floating shelves brackets. Wow, that's a lot to say. These package of brackets sold for $17.98. These brackets do not include the wood shelving that's meant to go on the top of the shelves, and they're meant for heavier loads. If I was going to be storing a lot of heavy items, these would still be a great option to use. However, they seemed like an overkill for the project that was behind me. In addition, I didn't like the way these brackets looked for the setup. After a bit of research, I found the design that I was looking for that fit all of my needs, both functionally, financially, and aesthetically. Seriously, look at those shelves. They look amazing. First, I could make these shelves as long or as short as I wanted. Second, these would match the other qualities of wood that I have in my room. And finally, I didn't need any kind of specialized tools in order to assemble it. Here are a list of all the supplies that you're going to need in order to have these shelves on your walls.
The design of these shelves is really quite simple. First, we have the top and the bottom planks of wood that are 7 inches wide and however long you want. Then we attach the front panels of the same type of wood that is 3 inches wide. For the sides, we'll be using a 2x4 to fill in the gaps and a longer 2x4 in the back that'll serve as our mounting bracket. Basically, when it comes time to attach these shelves to the wall, we'll take that longer 2x4 and attach it to the wall using 3 to 4 inch screws when attaching the studs, or we'll use drywall anchors when the studs are not available. Then we'll just slide on the shelf and secure the whole thing with some 1.5-inch screws. All right, let's go ahead and get ourselves started. The wood that I'm using for this project are common boards. Common boards are great because they're cheap. You will be required to pull out some staples, but the cost and the savings is well worth it. Now it's time to adjust the height of my blade and cut the 3-inch faceplate for my shelves. Because I'm using 7-inch wood, I was able to get 2 faceplates from 1 additional piece of common board. Now I had a piece of 2x6 in my shop from another build, so I'm cutting this down to a little over 1 inch on the sides and for the mounting brackets. If you don't have a 2x6 laying around, just go to the store and get some 2x4s. They're much cheaper. Now it's time to get my top panel all ready to go. First, I need to add a healthy amount of glue to the sides and spread it all over. If you're not getting your hands and your whole entire shop all messy, then you're not doing it correctly. Trust me, I'm almost a professional. With the glue still wet, we're going to add the faceplate that we made earlier. Line up the edges and grab your nail gun. I suggest using 1.5-inch brad nails if you have them. I don't own a brad nailer, so I'm using my 16-gauge nailer instead. You will know you've used enough glue because it'll start to leak out the sides of your wood project. A quick wipe to get the glue to go away before it dries, before we start working on the other side. Keep in mind, I am not waiting for the glue to dry before moving on. The nails will hold everything in place while it dries. As you can see, I'm doing the exact same thing on the bottom of the shelf that I did with the top. I told you, this project is super easy. In order to keep the spacing correct, I'm using the 2x4 that I cut earlier to hold the bottom of the shelf in place while I staple the top. This makes assembly extremely easy. Next, it's time to cut the 2x4 down to the size needed for the side of the shelves. Once cut, just apply glue to both sides, spread it out as messily as you possibly can, and then pull out your nail gun and attach. Don't forget to nail down the top and both sides of your shelf. Notice I'm not attaching the nails all the way to the edge of the wood. This is because I want to trim off the ends of the shelves to make everything clean and straight. Now it's time to sand everything down. It's important to remove any additional wood glue from your project. Wood glue does not absorb stain, and it will ruin your project, so make sure you take your time here. I also took this time to round off the edges of my project to make it a little less sharp. As you can see, the 2x4 that I used earlier for the mounting bracket is still sitting inside the shelf. This ensures that the wood doesn't warp while it dries. Also notice that I'm leaving about an inch wide gap in the back as well. This way I can easily adjust the position of the shelves to the sides a bit if I need to, which most likely I will. I'm using a tack cloth here to help me remove any sawdust from my project before applying the stain. Tack cloths are a great tool to have around your shop, but they're strictly not needed for all your projects. Just make sure that you do a good job of removing all of the sawdust before applying any kind of stain. When applying stain, it's important to cover your project completely. Don't be afraid to push it into the areas that need a little help. Just make sure to finish your staining by making long strokes in the same direction as the natural grain of your wood. Now it's just a matter of letting your stain dry before attaching them to the walls. I told you, this project is so simple. Inside, it's time to find the position I want the shelves and find the studs in the walls with a stud finder. Next, I drill a pilot hole for my 3-inch screws and attach them so the small amount of the screw sticks out the back side. This will help with my positioning. Drilling a pilot hole into the stud is also extremely important. Now I can line up the back of the screw with the pilot hole in the wall and drive the screw in. With one side attached, I use the level to line up my wood and then use a drill bit to make a new pilot hole in the wood and the wall at the same time. If you're lucky, you'll be able to attach a screw into the wall stud like before. However, if you're like me, you can attach whichever drywall anchor you want. I personally like these wing bolts, but they do require a much larger hole in the wall. Once your 2x4 wall anchor is attached, simply slip on the stained shelf and attach 1.5-inch screws to both the top and the bottom. And you're done. Because my top shelves were so close together, I had to install the top screws at an angle.
This has to be one of my absolute favorite builds. It was quick, it was easy, and yet this simple change transformed my space in a very dramatic way. If you're thinking about making floating shelves for yourself, don't wait like I did. Also, if you're new to woodworking and you're a little nervous about getting started, this is a great project to get started with. If you've been inspired to build this project yourself, we would love to see it. Share your photos with us online using the hashtag #ProvaLevelUp. Who knows? We might feature your masterpiece in our next video. Until then, we wish you the very best of luck in all of your adventures, and I'll see you next time when we level up our crafting together.